Welcome to another deep dive, folks. This time, we're going to explore the world of saxophones
Saxophones.
and music theory.
Ah,
We've got some pretty interesting source material for this one.
yeah.
Excerpts on the history of Selmer saxophones,
Okay.
some tips on developing saxophone technique and becoming a phenomenal sight reader,
Wow.
and even some core music theory concepts. Like
Okay.
always, we're
Right.
going to dive deep into these sources,
Okay.
unpack all the key information and
Right.
try to connect the dots.
What?
And,
Yeah.
for all you saxophone enthusiasts out there,
Mm-hmm.
ever wondered what actually makes a saxophone sing?
It is a good question.
That's what we're going to find out today.
I like that.
I'm excited for this one.
Me too.
So I think it's fascinating
Hmm?
how this deep dive connects the craftsmanship
Yeah.
of a physical object,
Okay.
these beautiful Selmer saxophones,
Right.
to the kind of abstract world of music theory.
That's a really cool way to look at it.
It's like we're exploring the tools alongside the language that they speak.
I love that analogy.
So let's start with Selmer itself.
All right.
They've been around forever, haven't they?
They have.
I know.
Yeah.
Even non-musicians recognize the name.
Absolutely. Yeah. Selmer's a household name.
For sure.
When you think saxophone, you think Selmer.
Yeah, so their history
Uh-huh.
goes all the way back to 1885.
Wow. That's a long time.
I know, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But they started with reeds and mouthpieces,
Oh.
not saxophones themselves.
Okay.
So it wasn't actually until 1922 that they jumped into the sax game
the sax game.
with the Model 22.
A Model 22.
Yeah, so they were already experts in the parts of a sax.
Mm-hmm.
So did that give them an edge when they started building whole instruments?
Yeah. You could say that.
Yeah.
Their early models, like the Model 26 and 28,
Okay.
showed clear signs of improvement.
Right.
They were building on their knowledge
Yeah.
of reeds and mouthpieces.
Mhm.
But the real game changer was the 1931 cigar cutter,
Cigar cutter?
or Super Series, as it was also known.
Okay.
And its intonation and tone quality were a cut above.
Okay.
And that really cemented Selmer's reputation for quality.
I see.
Yeah. There you
So
are.
then comes the balanced action in 1936.
Balanced action.
Was that when saxophones started to look like the ones we know today?
Exactly.
Real?
The balanced action introduced the modern key layout,
Oh, wow.
making the saxophone much more playable.
Okay.
It was a huge leap forward.
So it was kind of revolutionary for its time?
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting.
Imagine trying to learn on those older models. Yikes.
I can't even imagine.
That would be tough.
So we're cruising through the early 20th century,
Yeah.
setting the stage for the Mark VI.
The Mark VI.
That's the one everyone talks about, right?
We're rightly so.
Yeah.
The Mark VI, launched in 1954,
Okay.
is legendary for a reason.
What makes it so special? Was it just that the design was that much better?
It was a confluence of factors, really.
Okay.
The materials, the manufacturing process,
Mm-hmm.
even the cultural moment in which it was released.
Oh, interesting.
Many iconic saxophonists from that era played the Mark VI.
Oh, right.
Further solidifying its legendary status.
Like John Coltrane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, even today,
Mm-hmm.
vintage Mark VI are highly sought after.
Right.
They're practically collector's items.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Mark VI set the bar really high.
It did.
What did Selmer do next?
Well, they continue to innovate, of course.
Of course.
The Mark VII came out in 1974
Okay.
with a larger bore and some other new features,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't quite capture the hearts of players the way the Mark VI did.
Is that a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
It was partly that,
Okay.
but the Mark VII also had some quirks that players found less appealing.
Oh,
You know,
interesting.
Selmer, to their credit, listened to the feedback and responded quickly.
Okay.
In 1980, they released the Super Action 80 series,
Okay.
which improved response and tonal flexibility.
Right.
And then in 1986 came the Super Action 80 Series 2,
Series 2.
which is still a favorite for its rich, versatile tone.
Wow. So they were really trying to capture that Mark VI magic
It was.
while still pushing the design forward.
Yeah.
Did they ever try to directly replicate the Mark VI?
In a way, they did.
Okay.
The reference series, launched in 2000,
All right.
was all about combining the best features of their past saxophones.
Interesting.
The reference 54 was inspired by the Mark VI,
Okay.
while the reference 36 drew inspiration from vintage designs from the 1930s.
So it sounds like they were trying to offer something for everyone
Yeah.
while still honoring their history.
Exactly.
What about models for players who aren't ready to drop Mark VI level cash?
Well, they addressed that too.
Okay.
In 2015, they released the Axos,
Yeah.
designed for advancing students and semi-professionals. They managed to create a high-quality instrument at a more accessible price point.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so by this point,
Yeah.
Selmer has basically covered the whole spectrum of saxophone players.
Pretty much.
What have they been up to in more recent years?
Well, their current flagship model is the Selmer Supreme, launched in 2021.
Wow.
It's a blend of tradition and modernity,
Nice.
designed to meet the demands of contemporary players,
Yeah.
while still embodying Selmer's legacy of craftsmanship.
From reeds and mouthpieces in 1885 to the Selmer Supreme.
It's quite a journey.
That's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Speaking of journeys,
Okay.
let's shift gears and talk about what it takes to actually master the saxophone.
All right.
I imagine it requires the same dedication to excellence that Selmer puts into their instruments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could say that becoming a saxophone virtuoso is its own form of craftsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
And just like with building a saxophone,
Right.
it all starts with the fundamentals.
The fundamentals.
Yeah. Posture, hand position, embouchure. These are non-negotiables.
I've heard about embouchure.
Yeah.
It's how you hold your mouth on the mouthpiece, right?
Right.
Is it as tricky as it sounds?
It can be.
Okay.
It's about finding the sweet spot that produces the best tone
Mm-hmm.
and requires the least effort.
Okay.
And it's closely tied to breath control,
Right.
which is crucial for getting that full, resonant saxophone sound.
So it's not just about blowing air into the instrument.
No.
What's the secret to proper breath control?
It's all about using your diaphragm for support.
Diaphragm. Okay.
Think of it like singing.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't sing from your throat, would you?
Right.
You'd use your diaphragm to push the air out.
Yeah.
It's the same principle with the saxophone.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So once you've got the posture, the hand position,
Right.
embouchure and breathing down,
Breathing, yeah.
what's the next step on the road to saxophone mastery?
Then it's time to tackle the building blocks of music,
Okay.
scales and arpeggios.
Scales and arpeggios.
Think of them as the alphabet and vocabulary of music.
Okay.
You need to master all the major, minor, and chromatic scales,
Right.
as well as their arpeggios,
Okay.
across the entire range of the saxophone.
Wow. That sounds like a lot of memorization.
It is a lot.
Why are scales and arpeggios so important?
Well, they're the foundation for everything else
Yeah.
doing the saxophone.
Okay.
Knowing your scales and arpeggios allows you to play in different keys,
Mm-hmm.
improvise more fluently,
Right.
and understand music on a deeper level.
So it's like learning the rules of grammar
Exactly.
before you can write a novel.
Yeah,
Got it.
good analogy.
So I'm starting to see the bigger picture.
Good.
But how do you actually go about practicing scales and arpeggios?
Right.
Is it just a matter of playing them over and over?
Repetition is important,
Right.
but there's more to it than that.
Okay.
You want to practice them with metronome,
Metronome.
gradually increasing the speed,
Mm-hmm.
while maintaining a smooth tone and precise fingering.
Okay.
It's about building muscle memory for your fingers and your ear.
So it's like a musical workout,
It is.
building strength and stamina.
Yeah.
But aside from scales and arpeggios, what other technical exercises are important for a developing saxophonist?
Well, articulation exercises are crucial.
Articulation exercises.
These focus on how you attack and release notes,
Okay.
using techniques like staccato legato
All right.
and rapid tonguing.
Okay.
Mastering these techniques gives you greater control over your sound
I see.
and allows you to play with more clarity and precision.
I imagine that's especially important for faster passages.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think of a piece with lots of quick notes.
Right.
If your articulation isn't clear,
Yeah.
it'll all sound mushy.
Oh, no.
But with proper techniques,
Yeah.
those rapid passages will sparkle.
Sparkle.
Yeah.
And speaking of agility,
Right?
working on exercises from method books,
Yes.
like the close method
close method.
or furling etudes,
Farlingitudes.
can do wonders for your finger dexterity.
They can.
I've heard of those.
Yeah.
They're known for being pretty challenging.
They are.
What makes them so effective?
Well, they're designed to target specific technical challenges.
Okay.
Like finger coordination,
Mm.
speed, and accuracy.
Okay.
It's like going to the gym for your fingers.
Oh, I like that.
You isolate specific muscle groups
Yeah.
and work them out to improve their strength and flexibility.
So it's all about breaking down those complex movements
Agreed.
to smaller, more manageable exercises.
Right.
Do these method books also cover advanced techniques?
Mm.
Like altissimo and multiphonics?
They might touch on them,
Okay.
but those techniques are usually explored in more specialized resources.
Okay.
Altissimo refers to playing notes above the normal range of the saxophone.
Right.
And multiphonics is about producing multiple pitches simultaneously.
Wow.
They're definitely more advanced techniques. But they can add a whole new dimension to your playing.
So it's like unlocking secret levels in a video game.
I like that analogy.
Once you've mastered the basics, you get access to these cool new abilities.
That's right.
But even with all the technical wizardry in the world,
Yeah.
it wouldn't mean much without a solid sense of rhythm.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Rhythm is the heartbeat of music.
Rhythm.
And developing a strong sense of rhythm starts with practicing with a metronome.
A metronome.
It's like having a drummer in your pocket, keeping you honest and helping you develop that internal pulse.
I find it so helpful to clap rhythms before trying to play them on the saxophone.
That's a great technique.
It forces me to really internalize the timing.
It does.
And speaking of internalizing rhythms,
Yes.
let's talk about sight reading.
Sight reading.
This is a skill that many musicians find daunting.
It is.
But it's incredibly valuable.
It is.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
I used to dread sight reading. It felt like being thrown into a musical conversation without knowing the language.
Oh, I see.
Any tips on making it less terrifying?
Well, the key is, as always, practice.
Practice.
But it's about practicing strategically.
Strategically.
Start with simple pieces
Okay.
and gradually work your way up to more challenging material.
Okay.
Focus on keeping a steady tempo,
Right.
even if you have to skip a few notes.
Really?
And remember, it's more important to get the rhythm right
Rhythm over notes.
than to play every note perfectly when you're sight reading.
So it's about getting the overall feel of the music.
Yeah,
Even if you miss a few details along the way.
exactly.
Does looking for patterns help?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The more you familiarize yourself with key signatures, time signatures,
Mm-hmm.
and common musical patterns,
Yeah.
the better you'll be at anticipating what's coming next.
Interesting.
It's like learning to read a book.
Okay.
The more you read, the easier it becomes to recognize words and phrases.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I imagine playing in ensembles is great practice for sight reading,
It is.
since you have to keep up with everyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Playing in a band orchestra or a chamber group
Right.
forces you to read music in real time
Yeah.
and adjust to the other players.
Yeah, it's like a musical conversation.
It is.
Where everyone has to be on the same page.
On the same page, exactly.
So we've talked about technique, rhythm, and sight reading.
Right.
But there's more to music than just playing the right notes at the right time, right?
There is.
What about bringing those notes to life with expression?
Ah, yes. That's where dynamics and musicality come into play.
Dynamics and musicality.
Dynamics are all about controlling volume,
Okay.
playing softly, loudly, and everything in between.
Right, right.
Right.
I love how a musician can make a single note swell with emotion
Yes.
or whisper with tenderness.
It's beautiful.
How do you practice that kind of control?
Well, practicing crescendo and decrescendo exercises
Okay.
is a great way to develop smooth, dynamic transitions.
Crescendo and decrescendo.
It's like learning to control the flow of water from a faucet.
Yeah.
You can make a trickle gush
Mm-hmm.
or gradually increase and decrease the pressure.
I see the analogy.
Yeah.
And then beyond volume,
Right.
there's the whole world of phrasing and articulation.
Phrasing and articulation.
How do those elements contribute to musicality?
They're essential for shaping the music and conveying emotion.
Okay.
Phrasing is about grouping notes together
Okay.
to create meaningful musical sentences.
Musical sentences.
It's like punctuation in writing.
Okay.
Use commas, periods, and question marks
Right.
to give structure and meaning to your sentences.
Got it.
Articulation is about how you attack and release notes
Okay.
smoothly, abruptly, or with an accent. It's like adding inflection to your voice when you speak.
Right.
You might emphasize certain words or syllables
Yeah.
to convey a particular emotion or meaning.
So it's about going beyond just playing the notes on the page
It is
and becoming a storyteller through your music.
a storyteller.
And speaking of storytelling,
Yeah.
what about repertoire?
Repertoire.
Does playing a variety of music help develop musicality?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Exploring different genres and styles is crucial
Yeah.
for becoming a well-rounded musician.
Okay.
You should delve into classical jazz, contemporary world music,
Right.
anything that sparks your interest.
It's like reading books from different genres.
Exactly.
It expands your vocabulary and understanding of storytelling.
It does.
What about transcribing solos by ear?
Transcribing.
I've heard that's a great way to improve musicality.
It's an incredibly valuable exercise.
How so?
It forces you to listen deeply
Okay.
to the nuances of a performance.
Hmm.
The phrasing, the articulation, The subtle variations in timing and dynamics.
Wow.
It's like learning a secret language.
Okay.
By deciphering coded messages.
So it's like being a musical detective.
Yeah, you could say that.
So all of this technique, rhythm, musicality, it all comes together when you perform right. Exactly.
Performing is where you put all your skills to the test.
Right.
And share your music with the world.
Okay.
And whether you're performing solo or in an ensemble,
yeah,
regular performance experience is essential for growth as a musician.
So it's like taking all those ingredients you've been working with and creating a delicious meal.
A delicious meal. I like that.
And speaking of the creative process, what about applying all of this to composing your own music?
That's where it gets really exciting.
Yeah.
Composing allows you to express your unique musical voice and explore your own ideas.
Yeah.
And all the technical skills and theoretical knowledge you've acquired will serve you well in your compositional journey.
So it's like taking all the tools you've gathered and building your own musical world.
Your own musical world.
But before we dive into the world of music theory, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier. Taking care of yourself. Right. Both physically and mentally.
That's absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Playing the saxophone is a physical activity.
It is.
You need to warm up properly before practicing, maintain good posture, and be mindful of potential injuries.
Right, like carpal tunnel or tendinitis. Or...
Yeah, all those things.
Yeah.
Just like an athlete.
Right.
You need to take care of your body to perform at your best.
And it's not just about physical health, is it?
No.
Music can be demanding mentally, too.
It can.
Yeah.
It can be incredibly rewarding, but it also requires focus, discipline, and resilience.
Right.
It's important to develop healthy practice habits.
Okay.
Set realistic goals.
Yeah.
And take breaks when you need them.
Right.
And don't be afraid to seek guidance from a teacher mentor or even a therapist if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed.
That's good advice.
Remember, music is meant to be a source of joy and fulfillment.
Absolutely.
Not a burden.
Right.
You know.
It's about finding that balance between challenge and enjoyment.
It is.
Pushing yourself to grow.
Yeah.
While also nurturing your passion for music.
Your passion for music, absolutely.
And speaking of growth, let's delve into the world of music theory.
Okay.
The language that underlies it all.
The language of music.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground already.
Yeah, we have.
From the evolution of Selmer saxophones to like the nitty-gritty of actually playing the instrument.
Right.
Now it's time to unlock the secrets of music theory.
The language of music.
I'm ready to go beyond the basics.
Okay.
What kinds of things will help me understand music on like a deeper level?
Well, one fascinating aspect is musical texture.
Texture.
How the different layers of sound interact.
Okay.
Imagine a tapestry with different threads woven together to create a complex pattern.
Yeah.
That's kind of what musical texture is like.
Okay, I can picture that.
Good.
So are there like different types of musical texture?
There are.
Like different weaving patterns?
Exactly.
Okay.
We have monophonic, and polyphonic textures.
Polyphonic.
Monophonic is the simplest, with just a single melodic line.
Just one line.
Think of a solo flute playing a tune.
Okay.
That's monophonic.
Makes sense.
All right. What about homophonic?
Homophonic texture involves a melody with accompaniment.
Okay.
Like a singer with a guitar backing them up.
Right.
The focus is still on the melody.
Okay.
But the accompaniment adds depth and richness.
So it's like the melody is the star.
Yeah.
And the accompaniment is like the supporting cast.
That's a great way to put it.
And then there's polyphonic texture.
Right.
Where things get really interesting.
Yeah, this one is where it gets fun.
Right.
This involves multiple independent melodies happening simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
Creating a kind of musical conversation between the different parts.
Wow. That sounds complex.
It can be.
Is there a good example of polyphonic texture that I might recognize?
Think of a Bach fugue.
A Bach fugue.
Where multiple voices weave in and out.
Each playing its own melodic line.
Oh.
But all working together harmoniously.
So they're all independent, but they also work together.
Yeah, it's like a musical puzzle.
Oh.
Where each piece fits perfectly.
Okay, I'm starting to get a sense
Good.
of how these different textures create different listening experiences.
They do.
What about harmony?
Harmony.
How does that fit in?
Harmony is closely related to texture.
Okay.
It's about the vertical combination of notes.
Vertical, okay.
Right. Chords that create the underlying structure of a piece.
Right.
If texture is the tapestry, harmony is the weaving technique that holds it together.
So harmony is like the glue that binds the different melodic lines together.
You got it.
And understanding harmony involves analyzing chord progressions,
Yes.
identifying key centers, and understanding how dissonance and resolution create tension and release.
Exactly. It's like learning the grammar of music.
Okay.
How the different parts fit together to make sense.
It sounds like there's a lot to unpack there.
There is.
Are there any, shortcuts or tools that help with understanding harmony?
One helpful tool is the circle of fifths.
Circle of fifths.
It's a visual representation of the relationships between different keys and chords.
I remember seeing the circle of fifths.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like a clock, right?
Yeah, it does kind of.
Is it really that helpful?
It can be.
Okay.
It might seem a bit abstract at first.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But once you get the hang of it,
yeah,
it can be a powerful tool for understanding harmony.
Okay.
And even for composing your own music.
So it's like a map
Yeah.
for navigating the world of chords and keys.
That's a good way to look at it.
What about modulation?
Modulation.
I've heard that term thrown around, but I'm not quite sure what it means.
Modulation is when a piece of music shifts from one key to another.
Changes key. Okay.
Think of it like a scenic detour on a road trip.
Okay.
You're still on the same journey, but you're exploring a different landscape for a while.
Okay.
Before returning to your original route.
So it's like a change of scenery.
It is.
But within the same musical piece.
Yeah.
Why do composers do that?
Modulation can create a sense of drama, surprise, or emotional intensity.
Right.
It can also be used to highlight key moments in a piece.
Gotcha.
Or to create a sense of development and contrast.
So many different reasons.
Yeah.
It sounds like a powerful tool for keeping the listener engaged.
It can be.
What about counterpoint?
Counterpoint?
We touched on that earlier.
We did.
And I'd love to hear more about it.
All right. Well, counterpoint is one of the more advanced concepts in music theory.
Okay.
But it's incredibly rewarding to study.
How so?
It's the art of combining independent melodic lines.
Okay. Like in polyphony?
Similar to polyphony.
Okay.
But in a way that creates both harmonic interest and melodic independence.
Okay.
Imagine two people having a conversation.
Right.
Each with their own thoughts and ideas.
Yeah.
But their words weaving together to create a meaningful dialogue.
So it's like a musical conversation.
Exactly.
Where each voice has its own say.
It does.
And mastering counterpoint requires a deep understanding.
Right.
Of harmony, voice leading, and melodic construction.
Right. It takes a lot of work.
It sounds like it would take years of study to truly master counterpoint.
It does.
But even if I don't become a counterpoint expert,
yeah,
can learning about it still enhance my musical understanding?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even a basic understanding of counterpoint can help you appreciate
the
complexities of musical textures and harmonies.
Okay.
It can also inform your improvisations and compositions.
Okay.
Even if you're not writing full-fledged fugues.
So it's like adding another tool to your musical toolbox.
Exactly.
And speaking of tools, what about technology?
Technology.
How has technology changed the way we learn and experience music theory?
Well, technology has revolutionized music theory education.
Really?
We have amazing software programs like Sibelius, and MuseScore that allow you to write and edit music.
Wow.
Create scores, analyze harmonies, and even play back your compositions with different instrument sounds.
Really?
It's like having a virtual orchestra at your fingertips.
I've played around with those programs a bit, and they're pretty amazing.
They are powerful tools.
It's like having a whole music studio in your computer.
Yeah, it really is.
But with all this technology, is it still important to learn music theory the old-fashioned way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Technology can be a powerful tool, but it's important to have a solid foundation in the fundamentals.
The fundamentals always come first.
It's like using a calculator.
Okay.
You need to understand basic math concepts.
Right.
Before you can rely on a calculator to do the work for you.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So technology complements traditional music theory education.
Exactly.
But it doesn't replace it.
Right.
And it's important to remember that music theory is ultimately a tool.
Yeah.
To help us understand and create music. It's not about memorizing rules or formulas.
Right.
But about developing a deeper appreciation.
Deeper appreciation.
For the beauty, complexity, and emotional power of music.
You said it.
It's about connecting with the heart of music.
Yeah.
Not just the technical aspect.
The heart of music, exactly.
And that connection can be deepened.
Yeah.
through a variety of experiences.
It can.
Listening to a wide range of music, attending live performances, and even experimenting with different instruments.
Right.
Can all broaden your musical horizons.
Broaden your horizon.
And inspire you in new ways.
Absolutely.
It's about immersing yourself in the world of music.
Yes.
And letting it wash over you.
Letting it wash over you. That's beautiful.
And don't be afraid to challenge yourself.
No, don't be.
Try listening to music you're not familiar with.
That's a good idea.
Go to a concert featuring a genre you've never heard before.
Right.
Pick up a new instrument.
Yeah.
And see what sounds you can create.
Exactly.
The more you explore, the more you'll discover about yourself as a musician and as a listener.
As a human being.
It's about embracing curiosity.
Yes.
And the joy of discovery.
The joy of discovery.
What a fantastic journey this has been.
It has been.
We've gone from the history of Selmer saxophones
all the way
to the intricacies of music theory.
Music theory.
And I feel like I've learned so much along the way.
Me too.
Thank you for being such a fantastic guide.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there,
yeah,
we hope you enjoyed this deep dive.
We hope so.
Into the world of saxophones and music theory.
The fascinating world.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep playing, keep listening.
Yes.
And keep the music alive.
Keep the music alive.